Let's see here. Welcome, everyone. All right. Welcome, everyone, to our summer webinar series. This is the third one out of four. And today's we're going to be talking about improving coverage and cutting costs. But I think today is really more about improving coverage and confidence and trust in the software that it's ready to go. So, um, Jason, my
Yeah.
wife told me that this looks like the 30-year-old me, but actually it's not too far off because I'm only 39, so it's pretty close.
Uh, what is that? That's bad math, Phil. Um, yeah, I'm just a handsome devil. I
And
think you
you
said
can
that.
tell that this was generated by AI, not just because I'm, 39, but also I thought was interesting as I looked at the bottles in the back, and nowhere would you see a set of bottles like that, have the same logo in a bar where they have the same exact bottle, 10 of them, the same ones.
That's a good point. And the labels are a little different. Yeah, like
Doesn't make any
of
sense.
height.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. All right, AI is not ready for
yeah,
maybe
AI is not ready. It's not
just the
perfect,
fad. It's a
but
fad.
it's darn close. My my dad who passed away, he used to say, I'm not perfect, but I'm damn close. And that's AI. So
That's almost humble. Yeah.
yeah, but I think, some of the things that AI doesn't pick up, like the nuances, that's where humans are for, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, which is where humans can contribute and what AI can do best and how to work AI into the process. Um, so, the dilemma is always the same, right? Where QA is not appreciated, budgets are being cut, and of course, this is hammered into us if we miss critical defects. And basically, the traditional approaches of AI or traditional approaches of QA, sorry, are just not scaling, right? You just add people, and then you add automation, but then you got to add maintenance to the automation. You have to have people, as you increase your test scripts, then a increasing part of that automation effort becomes maintaining those scripts. So that's a lot of work. And so it's always been a dilemma and it still is. Uh, so by implementing AI and inserting AI into your process, the big thing here is getting more confidence, boosting your confidence and enabling you to get more coverage and letting AI um, do a lot of the work up front in the underneath work, but also enabling you to free up your time, enabling QA to free up its time to do more thinking, more higher levels should be doing, because you still have to tell AI what to do, right? And then just like those bottles in the image, you have to check AI and make sure that nothing is off. So that's the new promise, really utilizing AI for what it can do the best. Jason, maybe you could cover the four-shot flow, and I know you
Yeah.
wrote several articles on it.
Yeah, exactly. I've done some Medium articles on this, but it's really, Phil and I have been talking about figuring out how to optimize the integration between humans and machines. And so we've come up with the four-shot flow. And really, the idea is how do you maximize uh, the, you know, the leveraging of the human intellect? But it's expensive and they're slower. And then how do you optimize that with the leveraging the AI, right? Where AI is good, maybe not great yet, maybe not perfect, but it can be very fast and very inexpensive. So how do you, in a normal test flow, like really like if you're on an agile program project, and you ship every week or something like that. How do you integrate this AI and these people so they work together to deliver everything optimally, particularly to reduce costs and add coverage, like we're talking about? So there's these four shots, and we've kind of talked about them before, but basically there's just varying degrees of how the human engages. And the first one, the AI just goes out and does a bunch of checking and testing, right? As much as it can do. And then the humans come in and they review the AI, like they review the bottles on the back of the bar. And then and then they come in and then the humans go, okay, now everything I've seen about these from the AI and everything I've kind of seen from reviewing what the AI has done. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to go dig deeper, or I'm going to also figure out like what did the AI miss? And so that's where the human creativity, context, intellect comes in. And then finally, the human gets the AI ready for the next run, right? So the AI will go and say, um, the person will go in and say to the AI, hey, here's some extra tests, right? And maybe even here's a new little AI testing agent that focuses on branding. Because like, maybe the AI goes, hey, this page looks great and everything looks cool, but it's the wrong branding because you just changed branding for your company. So you add a new one that will check to make sure the branding is perfect on the next run, for example, or add new personas, different user definitions to get different insights and kind of feedback for the next run. And so the human prepares it for the next run, and guess what? You get a new build and you do that process again. But what this guarantees is that you're optimally getting as much data as possible to back to the development team as quickly as possible, so they can start fixing things before the end of your ship cycle. And then you still get the human feedback, and you get the human feedback as quick as possible. And the humans, the cool thing is, what gets me excited about it is that those humans have all that context of what the AI did. So they don't find out, they don't take 3 days to find out that there's some particular strange behavior on the sign-in page, right? Because the AI has already looked at a lot of that, found it all, showed it to the people. So then the people are going, oh, yeah, that does look funny. And by the way, they know another website the company uses where it's working fine. They may, hey, annotate it and say, hey, development team, it works on this other page we have. You should probably copy what they're doing. But that's the human context that the AI wouldn't have. So you're getting the best of both worlds, basically better, faster, more efficient test coverage. So we're going to talk about like these, so we're talking about introducing the AI. Well, it's a very fuzzy topic, right? But AI agents Uh, there's a few ways it actually changes the team dynamics. Um, one way to think about it is that the AI agents, like we talked about, just not just speed things up and add more coverage, but they change the game a little bit because the if you're having, I'm starting to see this where there's teams that don't have any testers at all. By the way, they don't have any testers at all, um, or yeah, and don't have any testers. What they want to do is they want to start with AI agents. So AI agents are just little testing profiles. Think of them as very smart, glorified prompts, but they can do basic testing in a certain area. So they can do performance, security, privacy, usability, where they can create test cases for login or for search, right? There's little AI testing agents. And but what happens is that when people are starting new teams and they don't have any testers, they'll start with AI first. And they're starting to do that now because it's not only is it like inexpensive, but it's fast. You get the results very quickly. That's kind of the cost end of this. And they get coverage really quickly. So they get a lot of coverage very quickly in less time than it takes to go out and hire somebody. Like you've got to create a head count. You've got to hire, you got to interview them, you got to hire them, you got to ramp them, you got to get them a computer, you got to give them a desk, a chair, and in all that time, you can basically get quick results from these AI testing agents, and they can do autonomous work, right? They can do basic coverage of many different types of testing without the human in the loop, and the devs can just look at the output and go, okay, robot, thanks, and I can. So they're getting the baby small version of a test team without the humans. And then also we're seeing a lot of headcount budget is being restricted this year. It's kind of an interesting time in the world. And partly because people are assuming the AI is going to come in and help. So like, do we really want to hire the next 5 testers, or we just want to wait? What I'm seeing in the market is people are saying we're just going to wait and see if AI actually starts doing a lot of our testing or makes us dramatically more efficient before we invest in hiring, 5 more people. So what people are doing is they're adding the AI now to their existing teams before they're hiring that next tester. So not necessarily like letting people go, but they're when they want to add more coverage, they have a new project or they're adding AI to get additional coverage inexpensively and without having to talk to humans. So
Yeah, I would just mention, AI doesn't mind coming into the office every day either. I mean, they'll come, the agents.
right, they'll show up all hours of the day. And you know what's funny, Phil, is like this is what kind of little insight. This is how Phil and I banter about these things. Is the other funny thing is, it may be a little bit dangerous to say, but I'll say it is not dangerous, just a little make people nervous. Is that it's easy to fire them too. That's the funny thing I don't like. No one ever talks about. Like, it's really difficult to fire somebody or let them go. Like, half the reason you don't want to hire people is because you go like, maybe they won't work out, right? But when the AI agent doesn't work out, you just
Mm.
turn them off or you don't run them. You don't let them run, or you don't look at their output. It's really easy. And if you don't even look at their output, they're not needy. They don't go like, oh, no one looked or appreciates my work. Um, I don't feel loved or needed. Uh, you can just ignore them and they don't care. So there's a lot of benefits to non-human powered testing. And lastly, here, like, and this is what Phil also brings home all the time, is that it really aligns with, the modern world. There's continuous integration and continuous deployment systems where they're continually building and they're continually testing around the clock and deploying as often as you can. And that's really where people are also fitting AI agents into their flow, is on these CI/CD systems. You have like three different branches constantly building. You just put the AI agents to look at the builds and find bugs and regressions. Um, they don't test everything, but you can get a lot of coverage very quickly in these CI/CD systems. Um, but yeah, I guess the key thing here is I was too nervous to make a slide about it. But yeah, you can fire the AI too fast. And no Cobra. This was a joke I made the other day. It wasn't funny, Phil. Was there's no Cobra insurance and at least not yet. Agents don't have insurance yet. That's another story. That's probably coming next year. Uh,
Yeah. You don't have to worry about taxes depending on what state they live in either.
right, right, right. And actually, I was going to say, well, another, there actually should be a whole presentation on this. What the advantage. So if you're managing human testers and you want them to change how they work, guess what you have to do? Have a one-on-one with them, take them to coffee and say, hey, could you do this differently? And then you hope they listen to you. And but guess what you can do? You can just do a prompt and say, hey, yeah, don't do that anymore. Or hey, focus on this area with like a prompt, and they and
Oh
they
boy.
do it. They're very obedient. Um, so there's some actually, everyone like pits it like, against like, well, how many bugs does it find? Or, how many tests can it generate? Really, the metric for a lot of management is actually not just headcount and the cost issues, but it's also more interestingly easy to control from a management perspective. And so the other thing you get with AI agents is that, so like, I know when I was a tester, right, I would specialize in maybe one or two areas. Like we know there's people that just focus on accessibility only, for example, right? Or some people are just performance engineers, for example. Um, and but we have generalists, but the generalists aren't really experts at anything, right? They're generalists by definition. But what's cool is these AI agents can specialize. So you can have agents that just specialize in like forms, just testing forms, right? They understand and think about all the different types of input that can go in, like what good error messages are for form validation. If the person doesn't enter their name or enters only like one character in the name, it knows that you probably shouldn't get through the form if you just use the letter V for your name. And so, but you can run all of these and so everyone in the world, literally now, has access to all these little testing specialists, right? And that means that even existing teams that have like a couple specialists and a generalist or something on the team, a 3 to 5 person team, can add a ton more breadth of coverage by using these AI agents. And then it's up to, that's why I'm working with Phil's team too, is that the weird problem came up is that the AI finds issues in a lot of different areas, like accessibility, all these, privacy, performance, um, or script errors or networking errors. Some of them are technical. Some might be some coding kind of exceptions that show up in the console log. But the problem is the testers now need to be that advanced. They need to be smart enough to be able to hop between all these different areas and go, okay, yeah, good robot, bad robot, or I'm going to repro or do a little bit digging deeper. So ironically, you get this extra breadth of visibility into product risk, but you still need those humans, like we're talking about with the four-shot flow, and is that need the humans to be able to come in and be able to be competent in reviewing those and providing feedback on what the AI did. So kind of interesting tension that we have that we experienced early on too. Because some of the, like some expert testers are going like, oh, this will take me like I have to learn this thing and it's going to take me like all day to figure out how to reproduce this type of issue, right? And so people got to learn. You got to get so it makes the human testers become more breadth in their own testing skills.
Yeah, continuing on with that, you talked about performance and security and accessibility up there above. And so we have on our team, we have experts in performance testing and so on. But with the AI, you have a lot less need for those kind of really guys that are going to spend several days at a time writing performance scripts, right? Because the AI does it. But on the other hand, he can check the AI. He is knowledgeable and a senior guy. He can check all the AI's work and make sure that it's cool so that there's no bottles that look exactly the same. And was this supposed to have Michael Jordan on there? It's his dream team.
Michael Jordan was from another generation, Phil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just dating myself. Shoot. Um, but the other thing is that, our automation testers, where they used to spend a lot of time, like I was saying, in maintenance and writing code, now the AI can do it, and that we don't have to worry about locators. And this brings me back to when I first started working with Jason about 10 years ago, and he was working on AI to locate objects and recognize objects. And we used to worry about that in terms of locators and stuff like that. So there's no worry about locators anymore. And that is really cool because that used to take a ton of time determining what method to use and so on to locate the objects. It was just a real pain. And we've saved all that time now. That's a huge part of our time. It used to be in fixing stuff and locators, and now we don't have to do that at all. And so our guys can really focus on real deep flows in the software, deep flows that require a lot of nuance and business knowledge that it would take forever, even for AI to figure out. When you're an accountant and you're doing stuff inside an accounting package, um, that kind of stuff takes a lot of time and expertise. And the AI, it could probably do it over time, but those kind of expertise is really hard to find, even in humans. So.
Right. But those humans now aren't doing which is obvious what you're saying, but flesh that out is that yeah, the humans aren't spending all their time doing locators just to like log into
Right.
the application.
Yeah.
Actually
Yeah,
now
that
going to
was
focus on the very complex code, talking to the back end to get different values
right.
out of a data store and do some authentication. And then and like Phil says, even manually in like a finance app, right? Like there's just like an infinite number of combinations of numbers and figuring out like and you also the AI doesn't always have access to the business rules, right? Behind the scenes. So you need humans to look at that and figure out not just how does it work, but also how to break it. And so that's where humans are great at. But we spent so much of the last 10 years doing locators and hard coding all these flows. Now the AI can do it and do it pretty quickly. So the basic stuff, so the experts can come in and actually leverage their expertise. That's the
Right.
almost a tragedy I feel like of the looking backwards, last 10 years is we've had all these experts spending 90% of their time not doing the basic stuff and not actually leveraging their expertise. Um,
I think another big place is the integration testing. I mean, integration with third-party modules and like payment. AI cannot really go out there and do all those kind of things right now that integrate with your software, and that's a big human component, I think, that has not gotten as much attention as it should. And well, who should pay attention? Well, there's all kinds of roles, as you know. I think right now the biggest thing is that people are getting pressure to implement AI, right? And they don't know how. And so, we got a question the other day on the last week's webinar, and the question was, um, how do you tell the riffraff if all these AI tools out there, and how do you tell what's real and what's not real? And my response was that, we've gone through and uh, over the last 3 years, we've been researching AI tools. Um, but it takes a lot of time to go through all these tools and figure out what works and what doesn't work and what you can integrate into your operation. And so, whether or not you're a director or you're a hands-on person like a QA leader, you want to do it fast, right? Because if you don't do it fast, um, you're probably not going to be around too long. Um, that's really the bottom line. And of course, the procurement and operations, we've gotten a lot of requests, and a lot of times they start from the procurement angle. People write to us and say, "Hey, what are you doing? We're evaluating AI tools and so on." And so those people are getting pressure to implement AI as well. And you can implement AI and buy tools, right? And like I said, spend a lot of time evaluating tools. But I think that our iceberg concept, which mixes tools and people together and enables you to get ahead of the curve, is really the way to go. Let's see, what is this about? Well, I guess you could probably debate as how many penguins go on each one, Jason. Um,
Yeah, there's some Easter eggs in this a little bit. Yeah.
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 Yeah, and I think that the message here is that AI can do a lot of the work underneath the surface that you don't need to worry about. And you can see on the right-hand side that the one guy on top, the one penguin on top, he's actually managing the AI. Like I said before, you need to tell the AI what to do, right? Or you need to tell the AI what not to do. And so if you want some agents that specialize in performance, then do that. And if you want to make sure that the bottles don't come up all looking the same, then you have to really check those results. And so the AI still needs to be managed and told what to do. And I think that's really the message of this slide, and that is that humans are still needed, but you don't have to scale up on the humans. And I think the skills that are going to be required in the future are going to be different, right? So um, someone wrote a paper and they were broadcasting it. They did a post on LinkedIn and how they used AI to repair a bunch of test cases. They used an LLM to repair test cases. And so my question to them was, why not just use AI to write test cases from scratch rather than repairing test cases? And so I think we really need to think again about our whole process. Why even write test cases, right? Why not let AI do it all? Because I think AI could do that really well. And then maybe you could go in as a human and check them and make sure that has the right coverage that you want. But we really need to rethink how we're approaching QA from start zero, from ground zero.
Yeah, if I can, you get me all worked up. This is the crux of it. In fact, I'm even a little bit not brave enough to say this to people, because it's disruptive to them. But yeah, the kind of what represented in this picture here is that one, there's really 2 points, I think. One is that, it's usually like, so maybe today, testing today, like it's 80% humans, 20% automation and test, like doing the testing coverage. That's going to invert here where AI does 80% and the humans are doing about 20%. I think that's what's going to be happening in this transition. But also, really what Phil was saying there is, if you take we always do. There's a lot of funny things in history if you look at and technological changes. And my favorite is when they built when they started coming out with cars, um, they would put fake horse heads on the front of the cars, so it wouldn't scare the other horses, and it would kind of fit in the city, like it wouldn't look too weird or awkward or strange to have it all mechanical. Um, but we're doing the same thing in testing today, where people are taking what they have today and they're making it then they're just trying to add a little bit of AI into it, here or there, kind of turn these like strange looking machines where, because they're still thinking about doing the testing the way the humans do it and they just have AI help it. And it sounds great in principle, but really AI is such a transformative technology because it can do reasoning and it can actually code, which are pretty amazing skills that you should think about how to do testing from an AI first principles, right? Like if you started from scratch, how would I generate 100, how would I generate 1,000 test cases for my app? Would I go in and manually craft them, right? Or do I want, like Phil's saying, have the AI come in and review that or double check it? And then I have to double check the double checking. It becomes an infinite recurse. But what if you just had the AI, like Phil says, just go out and look at your app and generate a bunch of test cases. And then the human comes in and goes, okay, you're missing these. Okay, good job, robot, but you missed these other things that are important. Or, and or approve a lot of them and say, yes, yes, good robot, good robot, good robot. But that's far more efficient. Like you can orders of magnitude more efficiency if you start with the AI first and then have the humans come in later. But humans are making the decisions on how to do testing. And guess what humans like to do? They think everything starts with them. And they think that AI is going to help them do what they do as a human. You really should start with thinking about how can the AI do this and then where do I fit in? I think that's the big transformation that we're seeing here. And that's what we've done with these Phil and I've done with this four-shot flow is that we've thought about how do we really optimally forget ego, right? Like forget what testers like to do, what they take pride in, and even me, like, I think the AI is doing amazing things, but even Phil's team goes like, yeah, Jason, you know what? It always screws up and says the copyright year is wrong when it's correct. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And we can try to fix the AI, and it still tries to do that sometimes. But we need to rethink that, lose our hubris, have some humility, and just rethink what we're doing with an AI first approach. And things can get far, far, far more efficient. Not just more coverage, save costs, and frankly, people should have more interesting lives. Like no one wants to do all well, some people do want to try login every day. They did it on Android. I'm a little bit off, but Phil, trust me, like it's the Android team. I remember going around working on that book, trying to interview all the different teams. And I go to the Android team. Guess what they do? They had like 20 something people in a room. Every morning when they came in, they got the new build, they manually flashed it, and they tested sign in, and then they tested the new user experience. And then they got into the app, into the shell, and they were testing some of the OS features and menus and settings. Like, and then guess what they did the next day, Phil? The exact same thing. So even at Google, like they weren't doing automation and they were doing this very manually. But we need to rethink these processes. They're kind of ridiculous. So I would look to AI to accelerate things that you do today. Start thinking, how do I start with AI? And then where do the humans come in? Where the AI doesn't do a good enough job or needs a human review.
Let's see the key takeaways today. I think the key takeaway is that you can implement AI today, and that the big thing is about increasing confidence and trust in your software, knowing that AI has covered a lot of stuff that you before didn't have time to cover. So, um, a lot of the clients that we work for, they don't do any performance testing. They don't do any accessibility testing. They don't do any, or they do minimal security testing. They ask us to do um, some penetration testing, and then afterwards, we send them a report, and then nothing gets done, right? And so, what the AI can do is it has a lot of expertise that you don't necessarily have or don't want to hire somebody to do, and AI can help you increase the confidence in your software that you've got a lot covered um, that you didn't before. And, we've developed this framework with IcebergQA that like Jason was saying, the four-shot testing flow that integrates humans with the expertise and experience that's needed to manage and monitor and tell the AI what to do, basically. And I think that this is really it's a new flow. Using the AI where it can do its work the best, and it's practical today. You can get it going today, and that's what Iceberg QA is all about. Jason, did you want to
Yeah, I
supplement
think
there?
well, you said it pretty well. I think yeah, the key is, in my opinion, it's available today. Like testers are usually the later adopters. They're very skeptical. Like you said earlier, Phil, they want to like evaluate every tool on the planet that has the word AI in it. And like they want to evaluate like 20 different, 30 different tools that say AI in them. And to come up with their decision, to start to figure out what tool to use, then do like some POCs, and like you end up in this like 3 to 6 month it's in 3 to 6 months process. And by the way, guess what happens? The technology changes in that period, and and your management's not going to wait for you to go through all that process, frankly. And most of them, which was the question, one of the questions from yesterday, or the last webinar was, about this marketing, how much the marketing is real and in terms of AI, and most of it is marketing. But guess what? You're setting your team up to spend all the time to figure out that, oh, that's just marketing. And you don't find out that it's just marketing or it's worse until you're like 3, 6 months into some POC process, a valve process. But AI is moving so fast that you really should just start with something because you can get a ton of value right out of the box, even if you don't get the optimal tool, right? Actually, I'll say two things about that too. Even if you don't get the optimal tool today, you will accelerate your team if the tool and processes you use are AI first. Your team will accelerate in that you will save more time and money in that period that you would have spent evaluating to find the optimal tool or process or vendor um, in the first week than trying to optimize it and wait for this full process to happen. And by the end of the process, your criteria are going to be invalidated. It's going to be a whole new world. So really, what you need to do, this is genuine, just thinking about this, is you need to bet on the team, actually. We talk about tools, we talk about technology, we talk about finding bugs and flows. Really need to bet on the people that are actually AI first, that have a history of being AI people, that actually know what AI is. And because they're the ones who are going to take all the new changes and optimize them and bring them into the product and the tool and the testing services. And they're AI experts and testing experts will know how to use those tools and apply them efficiently. So really, I think at the end of the day, everyone thinks it is a technological decision, and it's ironically, I think, more of a social decision and more of a trust kind of decision that people are going to be making here. And if they don't, it's going to be not great for people in terms of outcomes and efficiency. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful time, and you can do it today. You literally can like start running testing agents. You go to Testers AI, and you can start playing with testing agents like within an hour. People that don't even know how to code, don't even know how to run a command line can get value and see things in just like an hour. And then if you want to just turn on, if you have testing needs, I'm skipping the next slide here, but the beautiful thing with Iceberg is you don't even need to worry about all that. You can just talk to Phil, and literally, Phil's team will start using these pre vetted, understood from experts in both AI and testing. You get an optimal solution to provide testing coverage as a service from Phil's team. So it's easy to just drop in and run like today. And if you don't do it today, probably should do it tomorrow. And if you don't do it tomorrow, um, I guess enjoy. We'll see what happens.
You probably don't remember how 10 years ago I asked you about the locator issues and how it was only about 70% accurate. Do you remember that conversation,
Yeah, yeah,
Jason?
totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, we spent a lot of Google's money. Like it's embarrassing today. Like we spent a lot of Google's money to find the shopping cart icon,
Yeah,
right?
right. I remember that. Yeah,
In
that
the
was fun.
corner. And we had to do a separate neural network for every type of element we were looking for. And now you can just upload a picture to ChatGPT and ask it, is there a shopping cart? And it goes, yeah. Um, uh, but what's interesting too is that because we've struggled with that, right? Like I have a super appreciation for the power of LLMs today. And uh, people think, oh, they're not that smart or whatever. Guess what? They're smart enough to do a whole heck of a lot of testing and do a whole heck of a lot of testing coverage today. So and I'll add one more thing, Phil. People bring this up a lot, talking about like the old school automation, even the old school way to do AI and automation is that um, people think, oh, this is just another cycle like automation was. Like before you had automation and kind of Selenium and stuff came in, everyone's like, oh, testers were worried about their jobs or, everything would just be automated. And it turned out not to be true. The reason that AI is fundamentally different and dramatically changes the cost structure and the speed and velocity is, and amount of coverage is that the AI can do two things again. It can think like a basic, by the way, most testing doesn't need Einstein to do the testing work. And secondly, it can code. and it can interact with objects. That sounds like a God, what is the best tester in the world? A big brain with fingers on a keyboard and a mouse, right? The AI now has fingers on a keyboard and a mouse, and it has at least close to human level intelligence. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's smarter, but I won't offend the humans that might be watching this. So it's now a tester, and it costs 100 times less than a human, and it's about 100 times faster in responding to things and executing tests. So the world really is being disrupted right now, and I highly recommend folks just jump on board, uh, like really yesterday, because you don't want to be the person that is discovering it in the fall or later this year after the manager has already looked at it and seen the demos and believes all the marketing. Um,
Yeah, I'll get there are a couple questions that came in, and I think we've answered some of them either directly or indirectly. But the big thing is that, one of the questions is, and I think everybody's asking this is, how can a tester stay competitive in a market with AI? And we've answered that kind of indirectly today, and that is understanding how the AI works and being able to manage AI, tell it what to do, as well as check the results. So understanding what it takes to do that is probably how you can stay relevant in the field, which means that you've got to really understand how to tell AI what to do and understand all the tools that are out there and what they can and cannot do, and what Jason was saying about being able to understand what's marketing, what's not, and really be able to check that. Um, so this is the end of the webinar. We have our fourth one coming up very soon in about 2 weeks. It's going to be on creating speed and confidence and using AI first. Jason just touched on it a little bit, but rather than using test automation to automate what we already do and do exactly what we do, but do it a little bit faster, this will be about really shifting the whole paradigm and using AI first, and then inserting human expertise into the AI flow, basically, rather than inserting AI into the human flow. So, thanks everyone, and there is one other question. Um, we'll answer that in a post very, very soon after the webinar. Everyone will receive the webinar recording as well. So thanks everyone.
cool. Thanks, Phil. This is fun.
All right.
Cheers.